Okay, my name is Christian. I'm a member of the Long Island Living Historian Association, and today I am representing a member of the 101st Airborne Division, specifically of the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, who landed on June 6th in Normandy for the invasion of Europe. So I'll tell you a little bit about my uniform here. My uniform looks a lot different from the standard infantryman's gear that one might have. I'll start with, I have a lot more pockets. I'm supposed to be living off of my own personal body, whatever else I can carry on me. So I have to have the pockets and the space to carry whatever's necessary to survive for, I believe it was 3 days of hard fighting is what Eisenhower called for. I also kind of look damp. I'm not wet. Rather, my uniform is treated with a thing called CC2, which is it's essentially a protection for my skin from chemical agents. So rather than having blisters or rashes that might form, this is the idea this would protect me. And this was something they literally dipped the whole uniform into, and it was be fully covered. There's more to my gas protection though as well. I have my assault gas mask bag on me, which was issued prior to the invasion, so I could don this in case of a chemical attack. I also have another problem. Not all chemical agents can be seen, smelt, or tasted. It looks like just how it might look right now, clear as day. So in order to detect when there's a chemical agent there that I can't see, I have this gas brassard. And if there's a chemical agent in the air, it will turn red. So I know right away to don my mask. There's one more very, very important part of my gas protection kit. That's going to be my hygiene kit. And specifically from that, my shaving kit. Why might that be a part of my gas protection system? Well, if I was to don my gas mask on and I have a beard, the hair follicles could cause my gas mask to create a pore seal. It'll raise it off my face, so when I go to breathe in, I'll suck in those chemical agents from outside and expose myself to whatever poisonous agent might be in the air. So, to protect myself, I have to be as clean shaven as possible. A little stubble's okay, but any more than that, and my sergeant will yell at me. So that's just a brief little aspect of the 101st Airborne, specifically of the 502nd, and what a paratrooper who landed in Normandy might have been wearing on them when they fell from the sky.
Any information on the display or the weapons on the table?
Right, so the equipment on the table is more of a standard rifleman's kit. I have a set of pouches that are quite different from the regular infantryman. I have a system called the rigger pouches. These hold 3 end blocks. These are something rigged up prior to the invasion. And they're experimenting, they're trying something new. Rather than having a singular pouch that holds 1 end block, they're gonna put 3 in one. This was great until they found out that when you pop it open and you're running and you leave your pouch open, your ammo, any excess will fly out and you'll have no ammunition on you except for whatever you might have in your pockets. That is not good. So they decided quickly, maybe we should get rid of these. And after Normandy, these rigger pouch systems, they disappear entirely. To carry ammo, I also have my bandolier, which I'm just gonna be able to wear right around to carry additional ammo. I have my rifle, of course. I'm representing rifleman, so I have the standard M1 Garand that I can use to fight. This would probably be the most common weapon seen by airborne troops. It is big and heavy. During the jump, it would come in a 3-part system in a big bag called, I believe, a Griswold bag. And my rifle comes disassembled. So when I land, I have to pop that bag open and quickly put my rifle back together as fast as I can so that if I'm in a dangerous situation, I can react. You can see I put it together incorrectly. So go back at it. Together, boom. Slide in my trigger group. And now I'm ready to fight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.